lovely to have you on the show. Commiserations regarding Thursday. I know you've been a very loyal servant to your constituents for many, many years in the constituency, but it's about the future now. Who is the best kind of person to take over the party? Is this a battle of left versus right?
I think, sadly, it will become just that. But, you know, it's so unbecoming to see at the moment the squabbling that's already started in the last couple of days between Kemi Badenoch and Suella Braverman and all the others. I mean, this is the sort of thing that got us into the big problem and the big hole in the first place. That, of course, along with non-delivery, as far as the immigration concerned.
Yeah, for sure. What do you make of this catfight that's started to kick off between Kemi Badenoch and Suella Braverman? An allegation that Kemi Badenoch accused Suella Braverman of having basically a nervous breakdown.
Yes, well, you know, she's not a psychiatrist, and to make that sort of statement, I think, is not helpful. Mind you, it wasn't very helpful of Suella Braverman to actually write the article that she did the day before the general election, criticising the government. But look, I was looking at the polls that you were presenting just before you came to my interview, and of course, it demonstrates there is a big disconnect, and there has been for many years, between the choice of the parliamentary party and that of the membership of the party. So it'll be interesting to see what two people, assuming we stick to the same rules, are put before the national membership to decide who's going to become the leader of the party, and whether or not those two names, either of them, are actually acceptable to the membership. And by the way, while I'm speaking, I just want to correct Olivia Attlee on one little point she made. She said, you know, there's an element of relaxation at the moment because at least, and she's right, the leader of the Conservative Party is not the Prime Minister and doesn't have a constitutional role. But yes, he does have a constitutional role, not a government role, but a constitutional role in that he's leader of the opposition, or she's leader of the opposition, and that is an important role in itself.
Clearly, the next leader needs to be somebody that sends out a message that we have heard what the public have to say, their concerns about high taxes, about wokery in our public institutions, and about illegal and legal net migration. Who is the kind of figure that could pretty much communicate to the public that we've heard you? Is it Kemi Badenoch?
Well, I'll tell you who my favourite is, actually, although he was rather down low on the list, Robert Jenrick, the former immigration minister, who actually showed integrity by resigning from the government, not wishing to work with James Cleverly, who might also stand, by the way, because he didn't believe that we were making tough enough decisions and tough enough rules about stopping immigration into the UK. So personally, who are the people I'd go for? Robert Jenrick, Priti Patel. Don't think she actually showed up in the thing. Tom Tugendhat's a personal friend of mine, but he may be a little bit too moderate for the general membership of the party. Personally, I'll be surprised if Kemi Badenoch or Suella are actually in the final two, but I could be wrong.
Michael, do you think whoever wins is somebody that would be willing to do business with Nigel Farage?
The trouble is, would Nigel Farage be willing to do business with them? I mean, you know, it's no secret that I love Nigel Farage. I suggested years ago that he should have been rewarded for the work that he did, and undoubtedly he had huge influence in getting us the referendum in the first place. But boy, Richard Tice may not admit it, but he will tell you that Nigel is a difficult man to work with. So whether or not he would, A, want to be working with the Conservative Party, and whether he would stick with us for very long, you know, is an interesting point.
Let me bring Olivia Attlee into this. Olivia.
Well, what I found really interesting about that GB News poll we showed earlier was that over 60% of British people don't know who they'd like to see as the next Conservative leader. Do you think that perhaps none of the possibilities that we've discussed have what it takes? And if so, are there any other names that you think should perhaps be thrown into the ring?
Well, that's a good question, Olivia. And, you know, you could argue that some of these people are tainted by being in the party that lost the last election. who else might be there? You never know. There's people like Danny Kruger and others of the, I think he was the 2019 intake. There may even people of the 2024 intake. But this is a thing which I'm afraid is a sad fact. It ain't the same being the leader of the opposition when you could be facing a Labour government for at least 2 parliaments. And there's no guarantee we're going to win the next general election. Though I'm rather hoping that with the likes of Angela Rayner, let alone Jeremy Corbyn on the sidelines there, and lots of very left-wing Labour backbenchers, the whole thing, after a couple of years, just might implode, and the Conservatives might have a chance of getting back in again. But boy, the Conservative Party has got to learn some lessons from why it lost the election this time round.
Well, Michael, now you can say what you're really thinking now that you're out of the House of Commons. I look forward to many weeks, months and years of punditry from your good self. We'll catch up soon. Sir Michael Fabricant there.